What's up everybody? Good morning. Welcome back to Rasco Garage. Today we're going to be making a 2-to-1 collector for my 3-inch track exhaust. This is actually going to be for myself. This is not a customer build. This is for personal use only. I just got my prototype headers done. They are just loose fit in the car. I got some wrenches coming today to get that snugged up all the way. But on today's episode, we're gonna make a 2-to-1 collector. So what we have here is we have two 90-degree elbows. I think it's a 3.75 inch centerline radius that I get from Ace Race parts. They have really good products on there as well. So we're gonna do a couple things here. So one thing I will say, don't be discouraged if your fit up isn't like absolutely perfect, especially on the top here. Now, for whatever reason, in my experience with mandrel bends, sometimes the way you cut them, they're not always cut like super perfect. So this is okay. I've kind of hammered it down a little bit, but I'm gonna weld on a transition here from 2.5 inch to 3 inch, because that's going to be my exhaust diameter. These are great. This company right here, Stainless Bros, they're a partner with the channel. They hooked me up with some pricing on these components here, and I love this material. Here's the part number if you guys want to look it up. So we'll take this out and we'll fit it up here. In my experience, we're going to cut off about 1 inch off the top here, so we don't need to weld this up anyways. That's why I have the foil. I'm going to kind of make a little covering here, so when I back purge this thing, I don't have a bunch of argon escaping, because I'm only going to weld it from here to here, because I know I'm going to cut this part off, so I'm not going to waste filler metal and welding that up. So we're going to weld it up to here and cut it off. So another thing that you'll notice here is I have it already tacked to my V-band clamp. So, however, if you're going to make a collector on your own, if you have just flanges that are bolt-on flanges, or if you're using V-bands like I'm using here, in my experience, if you weld this clip, I took that out of the V-band clamps. When you weld something, the metal's going to heat, it's going to move a little bit. So then your fitment is going to be slightly off on your V-bands if you want it to fit up to a collector. If you don't have flex bellows, or you just have like a fixed, exhaust going into it, it's going to make the fit up really difficult. So a really good rule of thumb is keep it fully clamped down. So I have this thing tacked to the V-bands where I wanted it. That's how I actually cut these things. I had them in the V-bands first and clamped because I want them to fit up in this position here, because this is the position that I have on my headers in the opposite side of a fixture that I've made. So what we're going to do is we're going to first pop this off, and I'm going to get my purge plugs in here, and we're going to rig up some foil somehow right here so I can have this thing all nice and shielded. And then we're going to go ahead and get these welds laid down. Piece all set up here. We got the purge set up. We got our makeshift little covering up top. We have our indicator where the transition is going to go. So then we have our back purge, we have our shielding gas, about 30 CFH. There you go. And then machine settings. So I'm running about 95 amps, you can see that. We have it set for low pulse, about 10 plus seconds of post flow, and we're about one pulse per second with about 30% pulse duty. That seems to be a pretty good recipe for doing these kind of welds on 304 stainless 065 wall. At least that's what I found is a nice setting for me. So yeah, let's lay down some welds. Okay, there we go. Got this thing nice and welded up. Check the other side. Yeah, all in all, pretty happy with it. The only thing, you know, having it in this fixture and in its V-band clamps, it does get a little bit tight here in the center section, but I just extended the tungsten out about another 1/4 inch and it was totally fine. So weld and everything looked good. So this thing is freshly welded, so I'm going to let it cool off in the fixture with the clamps on there still, because I want the V-band flanges to set nicely and let this thing completely cool in the orientation that it's in now. So yeah, one step closer to getting the full exhaust ready to go. Here's a sneak peek at the headers that are actually in the car. We'll get them fully tightened down today. Let's see, we can get a little bit look underneath here. Get a sense for the fitment of everything. Get somewhat of a look at them anyway. And then they come down here in this orientation. So you can see here's the other V-bands, right? They're gonna go to that collector and then we're gonna run a 3-inch all the way back. So when I cut these things out here after I mark them out, I like to use my grinder, and I'm somewhat conservative because I can always sand this down and kind of ease down into it, because once you take too much off, it's a pain in the ass. You don't want to add any more on. You have to make a whole new collector. So we're going to cut out just above our markings here. One tool I would recommend is this little belt sander. It's 1/2 inch by 18 inch. This one is corded. Let's see, it's plugged in here. This is just a Bauer Harbor Freight special. I got some 40 grit sandpaper on there, and it is great for cleaning up burrs and things like that, doing some quick sanding. That's a must-have tool for sure. If you don't have that in your arsenal, I highly recommend getting those. They make them corded. I think they make them pneumatic as well, so if you got a big enough compressor or enough air production, this is a great tool. Love using it. Great for around the shop. Okay, so now we got our collector cut out, but as you can see, the sizing of it, right? We're good on these ends, but width-wise, we have too big of a gap. So what I'm going to do this time is we're going to try to flare this out. So I have a cone that I use, but oftentimes you could run into you could bottom out inside the collector itself. So what I have is actually got a tip from another YouTube channel, another fabricator. I saw him flaring out a collector that he made, and he was using something that I've never seen before, and I hit him up in the comments and he shared with me. So I've never tried it yet, but he uses a ball bearing, a 2.5 inch ball bearing, because obviously it's round, and if we press it into here, we're gonna get a nice uniform round shape. So let's get this thing out of the package, and yeah, we'll try to get it over set up in the press. Pretty good. Pretty good. Well, that was a first for me. That was pretty crazy to use this big ass ball bearing to press this out. But I tell you what, the fitment is perfect. So you saw on the previous clip, like we had a good almost 1/4 inch on either side. And now this thing's perfect. But like I said before, once you kind of start to press it to a certain point, it'll start to take in these edges. Can you see it a little bit there? See, that's kind of folded in. So what I'll do is I'll just pop this over to the sander, and we'll try to get this thing smoothed out as best we can as we've opened it up. But yeah, for the most part, that ball bearing is clutch. Got the machine settings, where I want them. 95 amps, low pulse. We got the piece back purging here. Everything's tacked up, tack's cleaned up, everything's sealed up nice. So let's get this thing welded up. Pretty happy with the welds on this thing. Came together very nicely, nice and level. Penetration's good, so here, take a look. So everything came together pretty nice. Get some light on it. Yeah. Overall, pretty happy with how the welds came out here. It's a good start. Good start to my 3-inch exhaust system. Yeah, penetration's pretty good, so we can go ahead and, like I said, we'll take that little belt sander, that little 1/2-inch belt sander, and we'll clean up these little lips in here. Once this piece cools down, make it nice and smooth, but yeah. Overall, pretty happy with that. So that wraps it for today's video. We're just doing the collector on this video today. So on the next video, we are going to continue on with the exhaust build. So I'll split it up into sections. Next video we'll do the mid pipe, or the mid section rather, and then video after that we'll do the rear section, and then I guess the final video of the whole thing is going to be the first startup of my prototype headers with the 3-inch track exhaust to the vibrant muffler. I've been waiting for this day for a long time, and I think we're going to be there in about a week or so, or a few days. So yeah, you know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe. Have any questions, feel free to drop me a comment. Happy to share any tips and tricks on the collector here if you're looking to make your own. But until then, see you next time. Stay tuned for more from Rascal Garage.